Hey, it's Tom. So, part 9. Where do you go from here? Like I said, the ex, she had a family member that I put a beating on. And at that point in time, I decided that fighting just ain't worth it. You get nothing out of it. Everybody loses. You don't make your point. That never makes a point to anybody because a lot of the people that I fought and I beat up came back for round 2. So obviously, I didn't make my point. And there was a lot of weird things that, from what happened in my earlier teens, I really got to hate people, humanity in general. I was a rather heartless person to the point that it wouldn't have phased me twice to put the pull down on somebody. Considered by some to be fairly dangerous, not by me, but some people did. Then my bushcrafting stuff that started back. I was 4 or 5 years old. My brother-in-law and my brothers used to take me out the back and let me shoot the guns and taught me how to use a knife. Not that I had one, but I knew how to use one, and an axe, and how to make bows, spears, and arrows, and a couple of traps, not like just your basic snare traps, trail snares. Just rabbit ran into it. So then 7 or 8 years old, I started going out with my dad and my uncles and my brother. I went deer hunting with my one brother. Excuse me, quite a bit. Going on overnight fishing trips, and they'd fish, I'd camp. As I got older, 9, 10, 11 range, and I y'all heard the story of how I was just a wild child. I used to spend 90% of my time in the woods, and I generally hated humanity. And honestly, the woods was my only comfort. Nobody bothered me. Excuse me. If I was alone, I wouldn't hurt anybody, and nobody would hurt me. I was in good shape. The only person I had to depend on was me, so I didn't have to worry about that. So that's where it really all started from, just my outdoor background with the family and my absolute hatred of mankind. And if, mankind would have left me alone, I would have been just as happy. So that led up into, the teens and the 20s, and as you heard in probably part 8, I like I said, I beat the crap out of that guy. But now, to that era, it wasn't without its good times. I mean, I was around a bunch of great musicians. I was around a guy by the name of Johnny Guitar. He was a solo act, and he built himself a bass and a drum machine on the floor. He played with his feet, and he played guitar and sang and played a harmonica too. And the funny part was the guy was a professional bass player with a band called the Chart Busters from back in the 60s. Now, that kind of surf era type people. Yeah, a few number one albums out. It was pretty neat knowing them. Then I had Sam and, excuse me, had Sam and the Silvertones and Ronnie Zaffino and Paul Kellogg, my cousin, and oh God, there was a million musicians. In the summertime, we'd have a Memorial Day, a 4th of July, and a Labor Day cookout at my uncle's house. And all of my uncles, I had 7 uncles, they all played. One was a cordy, one was a fiddle and banjo, another one was a banjo and guitar. You know, they all played something. So when we got together, it was a big jam session. And of course, me being a late life baby, their type of music was Hank Williams. My type of music was Kiss. You know, but I learned a lot of that old Hank Williams and on up type of country, classic, ancient country now. So I had a lot of influences. We had a lot of good times playing and stuff. Sometimes we just sit on the back porch and just jam, play, and my mother was a professionally trained opera singer, so she could sing, and she would sing, and I'd pluck what I could. My brother would sit out there with us, and we'd just have a good time. And then it was the fishing with, every now and then we'd get like all the uncles together, and on my mother's side, not my dad's side, they never got along. But then my 2 uncles and his brothers and cousins, and we'd all head out to the Delaware River to fish, or an overnight fishing trip for eels or whatever. And they were good times. And my uncle on my mother's side, they used to teach me little odds and ends about the woods and fishing, and they were more fishermen than they were hunters, but they would teach me a little bit here and there. And when we go down there to visit, I had the entire mountain to run unscathed. I mean, just see you later. So it was a lot of fun. It was the fishing trips, and me and my dad used to go fishing a lot because literally at that time, whatever I shot or we caught is what we had to eat. There was money for staples like milk and stuff like that, but food wise, for the most part, came from the woods or the streams and lakes. But where I lived was a sportsman's paradise because there was 4 good fishing ponds within a 2-mile radius of my house. You could catch anything from, giant sunfish, like them brim and sunfish you can't fit your hand around. Anywhere from them to calico or crappie, as people call them, perch, huge bass, pickerel. It was all there. You want a trout? There was 2 major trout streams that ran into one major, like, big stream. You had Jones's Creek and Patterson's Creek. Now, they came together in a big hole right on the end of my uncle's property. We used to call it the High Bridge. We go swimming there, but fishing was incredible. And that all went together and made the west branch of the Pawpack Creek. And man, the trout in there was incredible. You could go down there and catch 50 trout a day, natives, not stocks, native trout. So there was a lot of, a lot of good times. There was a lot of bad, yeah. I mean, so that's basically, like I said, I hated humanity. And I took to the woods to get away from the stupidity of men. Even as a kid, I thought to myself, why do we hurt each other? Why does man kill each other? Why does men abuse their wives? Why does this? Why does that? There's no need for it. If you're that big of a man, then, beat the guy up that's picking on you in a bar. Don't go home and take it out on your wife and your kids. That's not a man at all. And I started to get a lot of wisdom at a very young age. And I realized that, children don't belong in a bar. Children don't belong around drinking and boozing, and children are balls of clay that needs to be molded, not brought up the next generation of alcoholics and jailbirds. And there's a lot of things that it struck home. The only thing I never got really was religion then. I tried to understand it, it didn't make any sense. I was more of a realist. I didn't believe in blind faith. I believed in what you could see. If I can't touch it, I don't believe in it. The Darwin theory gave me positive proof of, how a man came into this world. That was good enough for me. That's changed over time. But I had a lot of good friends during that time too. I had, Mark and Brian and Gordon and Roger and Jimmy and Bill and Mike, and there was a bunch of Mikes. And my best friend at the time was Jimmy Zacher. Where I was, he was. Where he was, I was. We were both basically raised the same. We were both wild children. And we had a blast together. The funny thing is his brother. Not that it's funny his brother got killed, but his brother got killed in a car accident. And I spent the entire weekend there with him at the funeral home. And he said, I knew you'd be here. Now, the story behind that is I was going out with this young lady, and she started cheating on me with him, and I punched him in the mouth, and, that was the end of our friendship. And 20 years later, when his brother passed, he said, I knew you'd be here. My son passed. I was looking through a crowd of people, and there he was. So, it's one friendship, like I say, never died, no matter what happened. But we had a blast. We used to go camping and running around the woods and partying, and you name it. We had a blast together. And as far as camping, when I used to come home from school, we'd make plans on the bus, and like on a Thursday afternoon, hey, we can get everybody brought, something. Our camping gear was like, you wrapped everything up in a blanket, slung it over your shoulder if your mom would give you a can of food, or, and we got down there, it'd be 3 or 4 of us, and my mom gave me a pound of meat, and my mom gave me macaroni, and my mom gave me this, or, I got macaroni, and we'd throw it all in a pot and make whatever the hell it was, and we'd eat it. And we'd have fun bullshitting, doing the things kids do. And, we were only 10 or 11 years old. We were camped out by the creek. Our parents knew where we were. We weren't in any trouble. And we didn't cause any trouble. So, I guess this would be part 9. And part 10 coming soon. So, thank you for your time and your patience. I'll see you guys on the next one.